3rd chapter, verse 17. Genesis, 3rd chapter, verse 17. Then to Adam, he said, because you heeded the voice of your wife and have eaten from the tree of which I commanded you, saying, you shall not eat of it. Cursed is the ground for your sake. In toil you shall eat of it all the days of your life. I want to talk today from this title, Environmental Control. Somebody say environmental control. Cursed is the ground for your sake. It's been a lot going on. And most of us been trying to figure out if they can have a repeat button or a redo button on this year. A lot of what you're going through doesn't even seem fair. It doesn't even seem right. But God is up to something. And God was telling me in my prayer time and even time of devotion, he says, the reason why there's a crisis is because I'm getting ready to send a revival. And a revival, church, has nothing to do with just a couple of services that you have in the midst of a week. A revival has nothing to do with how you put a conference together, but a revival speaks to the fact that God's getting ready to do something in the earth. We've gotten a little too far away from God. We've become a little too detached to the degree that we think that we were God and that God's hand was limited. But I'm going to tell you right now, COVID-19 is allowing us to see that if God just simply lifts his hand just a little, how much he's been holding back and protecting. Y'all ain't talking to me. Most of us can recall and remember a time, and by way of your study of history class, one of the greatest natural disasters that we had encountered as humankind was something that was called the bubonic plague. It was roughly in the 1800s when this came about, and this bubonic plague was also a pandemic. It's an infectious disease. It was brought about low levels, watch this, of sanitation. Let me help y'all out, because most of y'all are saying, what is the difference between a pandemic and an epidemic? Well, an epidemic, church, is an outbreak of disease that attacks many people at about the same time and may spread through one of several communities. But a pandemic is when that epidemic spreads beyond those communities and stretches across the world. Epidemic is a neighborhood. Pandemic is the world. And so there is, at this particular point, dealing with the bubonic plague in the 1800s, there was a subpar sewage treatment because they had failure to bury bodies in an expeditious manner. And as a result, 1/3 of Europe found itself being buried simply because of the bubonic plague. I want to remind you again, for those of you who may be detached from history or even detached from this moment, why it is that America has found itself going through this greatest tragedy. Because the bubonic plague, because of poor sewage treatment, failure to bury, it's dead in a timely fashion, watch this, low levels of sanitation. Might I suggest to somebody here that what's actually been killing you is because you have not buried some stuff quick enough. You got to the place where you kept some stuff around you that was dead when you should have been burying it. Oh God, I wish I had somebody here today. God is trying to tell somebody today the reason why you need to be very careful and cautious in this season is because you've been continuing to entertain dirt and pass it from person to person, and you keep getting folks sick because you wouldn't clean your own hands. I can't get nobody to talk to me. The second thing that blighted the globe, the world, was in fact what is known as the Great Flood of China. Because there was no parameters that had been set up, because no borders had been established, floods began to rise, and here, me ladies and gentlemen, over 4 million people lost their lives because of the fact that there was no borders, no boundaries set in place. Despite this catastrophic loss, hear me, church, the scientific community has agreed in unison that the two tragedies, the bubonic plague and the flood of China, actually, watch this, helped us as a world. You're probably raising your eyebrow right about now saying, okay, if it helped us as a world, why is it that we're going through what we're going through? You might be in a place of disbelief or even a place of panic and fear, and you wonder, how can these things be? I never lived through nothing like this. I had a conversation with my mother, and she said, all of my 7 years, I have never experienced nothing like this. How could it have helped us when now we're impacted by what's called COVID-19? Or if you want to call it coronavirus. Now, if you would come to understand that the coronavirus, or COV, is part of a large family. COV is a part of a large family of viruses. Let me help you out. It causes illness ranging from a common cold to severe diseases such as the Middle East Respiratory Syndrome. That was called MERS-CoV. Then you had the severe acute respiratory syndrome that was called SARS-CoV. Now we have coronavirus, COVID-19. It's not nothing new. It's just a new strain that has been discovered in 2019 and has not been previously identified in humans before. You see, watch this, y'all. Coronavirus is what you call a zoonotic disease. Hear this, church, meaning that it's transmitted from animals to people. Oh God, y'all. Its origin came from Wuhan, China. Hear this, y'all, in a live animal market. And they're suspecting that this virus came upon humans by bats, watch this, snakes, or pangolins. Which came into contact with humans, because those who are eating from the live animal market in Wuhan, China, are eating bats, they're eating snakes, and they're eating roasted pangolin. Pangolin is actually an ant eater. It's a scaly ant eater. And if you're wondering, know that these animals eat of the ground, which will be referenced later when I get there. Watch this, church. Eisegetically, if I could add this addendum to what I'm trying to say, could it be that COVID-19 is resulting as a pandemic because we have entertained snakes again when we should not have been ingesting what it is that we should have been, yes, causing shame and causing to be out of our life. Y'all, could it be that we're starting to ingest some stuff that keeps eating dirt when God has told us stop putting stuff in you that is full of dirt? Y'all ain't saying nothing. Common signs, as First Lady has alluded to, include respiratory symptoms and fever, cough, or shortness of breath, and breathing difficulties. Watch this, y'all. But when you continue to touch and when you continue to ingest that which is cursed, you're bound for not only an epidemic, but you're bound for a pandemic. There's some good news, though, that God has established here that's couched in Genesis chapter 3, verse 17. We realize this. Watch this. 2 instruments, though, come as a result of pandemics and epidemics. Two instruments and two entities rise up in the midst of us dealing with viruses and sickness. Watch this, y'all. The first way we find that it helped humankind is after the bubonic plague and after the China flood and after this COVID-19. Watch this, y'all. What's going to actually happen is we're going to develop what's called immunity. Somebody shout immunity. Immunity is built up the senses to be able to fight off infection. Say it again. Immunity has been built up, is being built up even as we speak to cause us to no longer have to endure the infection. So as a consequence, the things that would wipe us out before, because of what was released in the atmosphere, and because it was released in that atmosphere, it developed our immune system. Y'all ain't talking to me. Talk to me, church. See, an old scholar said this. He says, whatever does not kill you makes you strong. Okay, y'all got scared all of a sudden. Y'all got to come bring y'all in here. So our immune system in 2020 is so much stronger than it was in the 1800s. Y'all walk with me. Here it is, y'all. Because of our foreparents lived through something that killed many of them before the survivors, they took something in that actually made them stronger. So to this day, once you get something, once you go through something, once you have been infected by something, watch this, y'all, it can't happen to you again. Y'all ain't I wish I could tell you to turn to your neighbor and touch him and whatever it is, but I need somebody to holler back at me and let me know that you're here, and tell your neighbor, no matter what, I ain't going through it again. If I've been through it once, if I've been infected by it once, if I've been hurt by it once, God is doing something greater to make me stronger. May I suggest something else to you? That your heart might actually be faint to remember. That whatever the enemy put you through before, he does not have the depth nor the capacity to take you through it again. Why? Because your immune system has been built up so that something in your spirit may say, it may have wiped me out before, but this time, if I'm hit with the same attack, I'm not going under with the same weakness. I need somebody to talk to me, y'all. Second thing that is catastrophic atrocities have brought to humankind not only was being able to have immunity, but at the same time, there's another word called resistance. After the Great Flood of China, something incredible took place. Engineers came together with dams and levees in order to block the incoming floods and wiping out. The enemy doesn't understand what he meant for evil. God says, I'm getting ready to work it out for your good. I need 3 faith walkers, water walkers up in here today, who don't mind just giving God a thank you praise. And when I got a dam, it's going to hold the flood back. And may I say, maybe God has in fact built up some walls around you. That's the reason why you can walk in here today and breathe in and breathe out. And you don't feel no aches or no pains in your body. Because there were some floods that was designed to take you out. But God said, I put a fence of protection around you. Oh God, the person beside you may not be able to identify what's protecting you. But people, God, you got to understand, they ought to be glad that they sat next to you. Oh God, I understand 6 feet distance, but one thing for sure, you ought to be thankful you sat next to me. Because what's between me and you ain't nothing but the blood. And I thank God house. I plead the blood all around me and all around your house. Y'all ain't saying that. Cause let's go beyond COVID-19. Let's go beyond viruses and influenza. Let's go beyond all sickness and sniffles. You have to conclude something, because when you look at your dietary regimen and your lack of exercise, you fast food eating, lack of vitamin having, you have to conclude, if I ain't sick, God must put a hedge, fence of protection. Oh, y'all around me. When you look at the places that you've been in this past week, and you run into Walmart, Target, Ralph's, y'all ain't saying nothing, and you ain't sick in your body, you've been in the midst of imminent danger, and you look at yourself today, you have to conclude there must be a hedge, fence of protection all around me. You 60 plus years old. Pep is still in your step. Breath is still in your lungs. Movement is still in your limbs. You got to conclude that it must be a hedge, fence of protection. I dare somebody shout, I got resistance. Ain't nothing coming for me. Y'all ain't saying nothing. Sometimes you got to tell the devil it's between you and me. And I guarantee you, the God I serve will step in right in front of me to let him know you can't touch this one. Y'all ain't saying nothing. I dare to touch him. Yeah, touch him real quick. Just neighbor, yeah, he got a hedge, fence of protection around. Because when you look at this economy, and you still got bills due, and they're taking your children out of school, not having a job to go to, but God says you got more food than you got bills. You got more school than you got schooling. You gotta find a babysitter, whatever. But God told me to tell you, it must be a hedge, fence of protection. I wish I had some witnesses in the house today. I'm talking now to the folk who have not lived a most righteous life, did some raggedy things, made eyesores in the presence of God, and God did not let this come in and kill you. This must be a hedge, fence of protection all around me. When the wages of sin was death, but the gift of God is eternal life. You are not here because you lived so good. You are not here because you did everything right. You're living because he looked beyond all my faults and sees exactly what I need. I need a five-folk who can just change the atmosphere and holler loud as you can. Thank you, Jesus. I've been through some things I should not have survived. Some of y'all have survived some things worse than COVID-19. You mean to tell me I'm be fearful when the God I serve healed my body of cancer? gonna tell me I should be fearful when I got hit by a car, knocked 9 feet back, got up and woke in the day? You gonna tell me I should be fearful when I done lost more than I done gained? God is bigger than any virus. As a matter of fact, can I give you something? God says, I'm about to give you victory over the virus. Y'all ain't saying nothing, because when you begin to give God praise, God says, watch me build your immune system up. I want to thank God today. I want to thank God today for not letting the enemy come upon us. I want to thank God today that I was doing damage to myself. But there was something that I wanted to do. But I was on my way to do it, but God put up a red light and said, no, not today. You ain't going out like that. I was asking, listen, God told me to tell somebody, He's made too much of an investment in you to let something like this take you out. Now, He has given us some precautionary measures to aim up some resistance and to render your immune from the things that you went through in your past. But ladies and gentlemen, hear me today. Long before the bubonic plague, long before the great flood of China, long before COVID-19, the very first natural disaster happened in Genesis chapter 3. Because in Genesis chapter 3, you'll notice something intriguing. All of us know the story. We read this thing before. Come on, talk to me, y'all. God gave them an edict. And He gave them an understanding. Do not eat the forbidden fruit. Everything else is yours. Watch this, church. Then comes a slippery, sneaky, sly snake. In other words, a pangolian. See the picture of a pangolian? It looks like a snake with legs. And he approaches Eve. And in approaching Eve, he tries to play with Eve's mind. Through deductive reasoning, he asked her, listen, God is just intimidated by your potential. He says, if you eat of this fruit, you surely would not die. You just will become like God. Before you put your brow up on Eve, before you point your finger at her, how many people thought that after they had acquired something, they would in fact be better than everybody else? You made up in your mind, if I could just get that house, I could let everybody know how good, how well I'm doing. If I could just drive that car, I could let everybody see me rolling like I'm supposed to be rolling. If I could just get that new move, everybody will understand that the one I lost, I needed to lose. Every now and then, after you get something, your desire is that God has to remind you that you're still not on His level. That's why when you come into the house of God, don't be impressed by anybody. I don't care what they try, I don't care what they have on, they still are not God. That's why our church is so uniquely formatted the way it's formatted, because in the room you got so many different classes of people, but we know how to worship together without staring down our nose at somebody else. Yeah, you got lawyers in the house, you got teachers in the house, you got medical professionals in the house, you got entrepreneurs in the house, you got broke folk in the house, but we all right. We gonna come together and do what we need to do. So the reason we understand is not about us, but it's all about Him. So we understand that when I walk into the church, it has nothing to do with my pedigree, my background, or my economy. But the reason I'm in the house of God today is because I realize that God's grace is still sufficient. How many can testify that His grace is still sufficient? God, you got to have something else for me other than this. God says, I got to keep you humble so you'll never think that you have it all. God, I want you to realize America poke their chest out. But America's starting to realize you ain't got it all. She took of the forbidden fruit. She ate it. And the Bible records, then she shared it. She took it. She ate it.
Come on here.
Then she infected somebody else.
Come on.
She took it, she ate it, not realizing it was contagious, and gave it to somebody else. So when the woman saw the tree was good for food, that it was pleasant to the eyes, and the tree desirable to make one wise, she took of its fruit and ate. She also gave to her husband with her, and he ate. Eating snakes, pangolin, they eat ants and termites and dirt. The ground, the Bible says, is cursed for our sake. And we're consuming things that eat what is cursed. We're allowing cursed things to enter into our bodies. And we're knowingly and freely putting those things that are cursed into our bodies. God. Our spirit are our dwelling place. And as a result, then the disease breaks out and a virus is now created. Now, what y'all don't understand, have to really come to understand, the virus now has a host because you ingested it. Let me tell you something. The reason why I want you to realize, because viruses are living microorganisms that have an instinctual ability to want to live and to grow. It needs to thrive. And watch this, y'all. Just like a demon, it needs a body to be in to live. Isn't it interesting how the virus of sin can become selfless, but people can become so selfish? It's amazing we're dealing with something that is selfless, but we run into the stores and being selfish. Let me give it to you again. Sin is selfless. What's wrong with the speaker? Y'all figure it out. Amen. It's making noise. Sin is selfless. But don't nobody want to sin by themselves. Y'all quiet now. Y'all you got to be a place that I ought not find a partner in crime, but I ought to find a partner in blessing. I'm talking about when we get to church, we used to drink and didn't have money, but you would pass the bottle around and pour it into each other's mouths, whether it be Patron or Hennessy. Y'all talk to me right now. Come on, I've seen you on Instagram doing it. Here it is, y'all. You hurry up and pass it to the next. Yeah, but now since something like the virus comes, now you ain't trying to pass nothing. As soon as God bless said the same mind you had in the streets, God said it should be the same mind you have in the sanctuary. When God does it for me, I don't want to be the only one. I want everybody connected to me to be safe, secure, as well as saved. I don't know where you are, but can you imagine what it would feel like if the folk on your job had the same spirit that you had? Can you imagine what it would feel like if we had the same mindset with our family that we have right now in the sanctuary? How many of our family members will get saved? But the reason your attitude is still contaminated is because you sit there stuck up and arrogant as if somebody died and left you in charge. But there ought to be something in you that says, oh, magnify the Lord with me and let us exalt his name. Where? He eats of the forbidden fruit. And when he eats of the forbidden fruit, he goes into self-quarantine. He hides in shame. Oh, verse 8. Heard the sound of the Lord God walking in the garden of the cool of the day. And Adam and his wife hid themselves, quarantined themselves from the presence of the Lord among the trees of the garden. Y'all ain't saying nothing. They took toilet paper, they took fig leaves and wrapped themselves up and make sure because of what they were contaminated with, they didn't want nothing else to be contaminated. There ought to be something in you that will put up some parameters that say, hey, if I can't do it in public, I have no business doing it in private. God will put you in a place that what goes around comes around again. And what is done in the dark will be exposed by the light. Talk to me, church. Come here. Verse number 9, verse 9. The Lord God called unto Adam and said, where are you? Now this causes for us a little bit of a conundrum because some of us want to know that if God is omnipresent, meaning that he's everywhere, and if God is omniscient, meaning that he knows all things, then why is God asking, where is Adam? Can I give you a reason? Can I help you out? God says he can't locate him, and because he cannot locate him is because God cannot see sin. Up to this hour, church, y'all ain't walking with me yet. Hear this, y'all. Up to this hour, all God has seen was goodness. His eyes had not been exposed yet to debauchery, wickedness, evilness, or even viruses. Some of you are hiding because you have never seen yourself act like this. Some of you are hiding because you ain't never been in a situation like this. Some of you are hiding because you're ashamed because you really don't know what to do and what to believe. Some of you feel as though if you are a witness, you're in a witness protection program because you don't even recognize who you become because of the level of sin that you've been operating in and have been exposed to. He says, where are you? Can I put a pin here and give a charge to the body of Christ? What this virus is doing is saying, church, where are you? Where's your encouragement? Where's your word? Where's your calling? Where's your encouragement? Where's your voice? Here we are. We come to church week after week, Sunday after Sunday, Tuesday after Tuesday, and we can't even give a word of encouragement. Oh, you know how to put up a meme. You know how to put up a joke. You know how to pass along what it is that everybody else is passing along. Monkey see, monkey do. But the question is, God says, where are you? This is pivotal in the church for our church anniversary. If we're going to be the church, be the church. You hear the holy hush in the church? Everybody got caught up in me, myself, and I. And God says, well, since you love self so much, and since you love selfies so much, and since it's all about you and you alone, then let me put something in the atmosphere that will make you have to be to yourself. Y'all don't want to hear me today. Yeah. See, some of you feel is that you don't really understand, but God says, where are you? I'm seeing someone else give me my identity. My Lord. Appreciate the CDC. Appreciate the WHO, World Health Organization. I appreciate all of them. But my marching orders come from the Lord. Here it is, where are you? Someone else gave me my identity. This verse 11. I'm naked. God says, who told you that you were naked? Y'all read the Bible. Have you eaten from the tree of what I commanded you not to eat of? What happens to a child of God when you let somebody else give you your identity? Where are you? It's a virus out there. I can't go outside. Who told you? You can't go outside. Who told you? You can't worship me. Start sitting back and start saying Walmart is open. Start saying Cinemark, the movie theater was still open. Started looking around and said, Target is still open. Why does the church have to close? Who told you? Well, the governor said you can't have gatherings more than 250. Well, then preach multiple times to people that's less than 250. Where there's a will, there is a way. Y'all, come on with me, church. Y'all, come on. Listen. You don't have to come to God when things are well, but you got to, saints, come to God when you know you done made mistakes. Listen, y'all, the people who sin the most should always shout the loudest. But you sit there and you hide, hoping that God don't see you. But you didn't know that God was looking for you, saying, where are you? Y'all tired of me already? Come on. You wasn't hiding Friday night. Y'all ain't saying nothing. Going to the mall, going in Target, shopping at Macy's, getting what you requested. You told them what you were looking for, but now you come to church and you act like you ain't looking for nothing. You need to tell everybody on your road, I'm looking for a miracle. Oh, y'all ain't feeling it. Who here knows that God is still in the miracle working business? That God can perform more things than what you can even imagine or even process. Tell somebody, say, God's getting ready to perform a miracle. Verse 17 brings us to our text. Then to Adam, he said, because you heeded the voice of the governor. Yes, Lord. You've eaten from the tree of which I commanded you, saying, you shall not eat of it. Cursed is the ground for your sake. In toil you shall eat of it in all the days of your life. Listen, you listen to somebody that you were sleeping with and took them more serious than God. They were your virus.
Oh, wow.
You know what's stronger than COVID-19? The atmosphere that COVID-19 is creating. You allow the virus to be the virus, and then you allow the virus to thrive. You allow the sin virus to enter your mind. You allow them to wield influence over you greater than the covenant you have with God. Come on, church. And sexist theologians have said this, and they had it wrong, that Eve was the reason for the fall of man. No, it was man who was the reason for the fall of man. Because when you read Genesis, you will understand that God gave instructions not to the woman, but he gave instructions to Adam. But because Adam didn't man up in a season of a virus, and because Adam didn't man up to handle his business, his responsibility, he wound up listening to somebody who had a relationship but was not under covenant. Be very careful lending your ear to somebody who ain't in covenant with God. I'm going to have somebody here today. Be careful who you let speak over your life. Because you listened to the woman and you didn't listen to me. Here's the tension of the text. Curse is the ground. Why is that a problem? It's not really that problem, but the next 3 words have been keeping me up even every time I read it. Curse is the ground for your sake. That's a problem for critical thinkers. Why in the world did he not curse me? God, I heard about you blessing me, but now you cursing it for my sake? Don't make sense, church. Because here it is. The ground didn't do anything. Ground didn't eat of the fruit. Adam ate of the fruit. So why not curse Adam? He didn't curse Adam because he loved Adam too much. I hope I don't lose you in this. He didn't curse Adam because Adam had too much favor on his life. Adam has an assignment that has not yet been completed. Nobody told me? Nobody? Some of y'all fearful and scared. God said, no. You think I'm through with you? God said, you ain't even started yet. I ain't letting this hit you. I got something I need you to do. He punished Adam, but cursed the ground. He punished Adam, but cursed the ground. Wrap your mind around that. He cursed the ground, and here is the driving principle. This was for Adam's sake. If you consider that God cursed some stuff in order to bless you, I need you to wrap your mind around it, that God cursed some stuff so that Adam might be blessed. See, many of you looking at me saying, Pastor, I don't see it. I don't get it. I've read this text 3 million times. I don't see what you're talking about. How in the world did he curse the ground for Adam's sake so that Adam might be blessed? See, you may have run and hopscotch to Genesis chapter 3 too fast, and you pass over Genesis chapter 1 verse 28 where he gives Adam 2 gifts. The Bible says then God blessed him, and then God said to them, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it, have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over the living thing that moves on the earth. 2 gifts God gave to Adam. Number 1, first of all, he blesses him. Somebody shout, say, he blesses me. Second thing that he does, he gives Adam what's called dominion. Somebody shout dominion. He gives him dominion and he gives him a blessing. He gives him dominion and he gives him a blessing. He gives him dominion and he gives him a blessing. He gives him dominion and he gives him a blessing. I'm in Genesis chapter 1 verse 28. Adam, you are blessed and you have dominion. Can I tell you, church? You are blessed and you have dominion. Pastor, I still don't see it. The problem is that he's got blessings and he's got dominion. Watch this. In the wrong environment.
My God. Wow.
Here, church. He's got blessings and he has dominion. But it's the wrong environment. What happens when you're blessed and you have authority in the wrong place? So when you are anointed for an environment that doesn't see your worth and doesn't see your value, you say, Pastor, I still don't get it. I'm struggling trying to follow you. Adam has on his life the anointing for dominion and the anointing to be blessed. But the environment that he's in is not conducive for his assignment. Come here. Y'all ain't got it yet. I ain't told you yet. Come on, come here. How can he be anointed to be blessed when he's in a garden? How can he be anointed to be blessed? How can he be one who has dominion when he's in a garden? You ready for this? That does not need fertilizer. Watch this beat. He's in an environment that everything functions perfectly. He's in an environment that when the flowers bloom, they bloom in season. He's in an environment where a garden has never experienced famine, pestilence, sickness. How you blessed and got dominion over what's already perfect? Come here, church. See, Pastor, I still don't see it. Good. I ain't told you yet. He doesn't have to plant any seeds. He doesn't have to cut any weeds. The environment doesn't need his blessing because the environment is good without him. So we got dominion over what? When where you are will work if you're there or not. Gives him dominion to subdue the earth and to have authority. But the problem is everything in a garden is already operating in decency and in order. The system is already there. It don't need your tending and attention. Y'all, come on, y'all, come in. So here's what God has to do. I'm glad y'all shouted early because y'all trying to hear me there. He has to, watch this, curse the ground. He has to curse the environment to make his gift work. Y'all been looking at COVID wrong. God said, I sent COVID-19 so that I can let the assignment of the body of Christ work so they can see that who's really got authority and who's really walking in a season of blessing. Y'all done messed up and missed y'all point. I dare you to go ahead and give yourself a thank you praise. That you realize that I now realize the reason why I'm here is because I'm blessed. And I got dominion. And watch this, y'all. I may be right now living in an atmosphere that may be contaminated. But because I got blessings, and because I got dominion, God says, I'm going to start making your gift start working. He says, I'm pushing you out of an environment that is perfect. Because in a perfect environment, you won't be able to see how gifted you are. I wish I had a church in here. I got to put you in an environment where the soil gets rough. I got to put you in an environment where things stop growing. I got to put you in an environment where you got to work hard in order to get what you need. I got to put you in an environment where you're going to be tired sometimes and about ready to throw in the towel. I got to put you in an environment where the work that you do may not produce all that you need. But I gotta put you in an environment, where the struggle will become real. God said, but I put you in that environment, you will start to see how blessed you really are. I wish I had some witnesses in the house today. Some of you saying, I'm gonna live even though I ain't been shopping. I'm gonna be all right even though I ain't got all of the necessities. But one thing for sure, God says, let me watch how your gift works. Maybe, just maybe, the environment that God has you in is because of how you were living before was not right for your gift to be in operation. I got to say that again. God says sometimes he causes things to happen so he can realize that sometimes our gift was not in full operation because the atmosphere has to first become contaminated before you can realize how gifted and how strong and how powerful you are. Oh, I see how blessed you are. Because when things were good, he couldn't tell the favor that was on your life. But when things got tight, when things got contaminated, when you had to disinfect your surrounding areas, now I got to show you this because the enemy is about to have a nervous breakdown. Watch this, church. You were anointed to be in a bad environment. Because if things were peachy keen, if things were perfect, you wouldn't need God to put favor into overdrive. Come on, talk to me, church. Who in here know I'm talking to you? If I'm talking to you, raise your hand. Come on. God said, I'm going to put you in a job where they don't see your gift. I'm going to put you in a house where you are not celebrated. I'm going to give you a bank account where you're barely making enough money to pay the bills. But when I drop you in that, they really have to understand, stand back, take a look. See, I don't know how they had it like that, but now that I see what struggle looks like, and I eat every day, now that I see when I got sickness all around me and I ain't sick. When I look back and I see co-workers losing their mind, pushing the panic button, but I'm sitting back calm and collected. God said, I'm built for this. I'll strengthen you for the environment that you're in. Though you may struggle, yet shall I live. Though it may be hard, yet shall I be all right. That's why I say he did it for my sake. Tell somebody, say he did it for my sake. Sometimes, I'm almost be out here, y'all. Sometimes God will curse your ground to expose your gift. God will curse your ground to expose your gift. Though the ground is cursed, you're not to allow the curse to consume you.
Thank you, Lord.
You better have dominion over COVID.
Man. Yeah.
Your gift will not be in its best operation in a perfect environment. Listen, people of God, when you can visibly see how life changed from how you lived in 2019 to 2020. But when you look at your environment, and your environment did not have the authority to break you, you can start talking to yourself and tell yourself, greater is he that's within me than he, Corona, that's in the world. Somebody shout, say, I'm anointed for this. If some people had to live in my shoes, they would be running scared. But because I got the authority and the dominion that God has put on me, people, God, I'm going to be all right. See, you're anointed to do well in bad times. Your immunity is already built up. Let's get out of here, church. Because when I began to read, and the first thing God told me to do, he says, go to Psalm 91, verse number 10 and 11. When God began to show me and begin to share with me, I said, God, this is it right here. He says, no evil shall befall you, nor shall any plague come near your dwelling. Verse 11 for me. Come on, put it up. I need you to go find it for me. Go find it for me. Go find it for me. For he shall give his angels charge over you to keep you in all your ways. I wish you could just shout real quick, say, it ain't coming in my house. It ain't coming to my dwelling place. No plague, no sickness, no hurt, no harm, no evil, no nothing shall befall me. People, God, I'm thankful today that God is making sure everything is going to be all right. Because if everything was good, you wouldn't need favor on your life. If I was living in a mansion, I still got favor. If I'm living in a one-bedroom apartment, I still got favor. If I'm driving a Rolls Royce, I got favor. If I'm driving, no matter bus stop or catching an Uber, I still got favor. If I'm the CEO, I got favor. If I'm the janitor, I got favor. If I got money in the bank, I got favor. If I'm broke as a joke, I got favor. If I got a house full of people, I got favor. But if I'm living all by myself, I still got favor. You have to look and tell the devil, you can't stop what God has already. Stand to your feet. I'm done. I got a question I want to ask you, church. I got a question I want to ask. Have you considered what God put you in order to develop your gift? Have you considered what God is causing you to go through? He's doing it to develop your gift.
Jesus.
We've been through too much, not for God to bless us.
Yes, God.
We've endured more than this, not for God to not protect us.
Yes.
He knows your name.
Yes.
He knows what you've been through. He knows who you are.
Yes.
So can I say it this way? Calm down. The God you serve